You can't do a design like that on an estate like that at a 400 square meter block like that and then expect to not have a zero eve with your designs, because it just won't work. G'day guys, welcome to the MTDC Lounge. This is a podcast that breaks down everything you need to know about designing and building your ultimate home and what to expect. Whether you're a DIY renovator, a budding developer, or everything in between, we'll dive into the building journey, touching on what to expect, what's next, and how to go about it. We'll hear from a heap of experienced consultants and trades about all aspects. So let's get stuck in. Welcome to the lounge. G'day guys, and welcome to the MTDC Lounge. You're here with your host Matt, and we've got Mitch on the table again. How are you, mate?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good, mate. Mate, today I've got you in to have another chat about a bit of a balls up. It's the one that went absolutely viral last week. It's out on the Current Affair, and it's about the two poor families that have got a tennis ball gap in between the gutter.
Tiny gap.
Oh, well, it was incredible. Yeah. It was incredible, and it was just one of those things that after we had our last episode of the handyman problem, it kind of brought attention to not just a handyman issue. A balls up can happen anywhere along this process, and it's just like when you look at this poor family, you go, where did it all go wrong?
How did they get there? Because I remember looking at it before we even spoke about it, just having a scroll one night and looking at it, going, "There's something's gone wrong here." And then what was really interesting too is just looking through all of the comments as well.
It's so hard not to say anything, isn't it? Like you want to just get on there and be like, well, actually, with my architecture degree, you know what I mean? Like it's so hard to read it. But how far did you get through it before you're like, oh, I got to get off it?
Well, I didn't actually. I didn't watch the full thing. I just seen what was happening. Going, okay, well, obviously they've built on the neighbor. But it was funny when I first looked at it. I've gone, the bloke. And we'll probably have a bit of a look at it, but the bloke who's sort of raising this issue, I was like, well, is he actually in the wrong in the first place or not? But the more I looked at it, I'm like, oh no, he's probably got more of a case now. Because and we'll probably get into it a bit, but I dare say what's happened is that the bloke who's not happy about the encroachment, he built his house first and then his neighbour built second.
I think I genuinely think there's a little bit more to it. So the rule, let's be clear. Most councils, particularly in New South Wales and Queensland, they can differ. So there's always going to be a different DCP rule. He's a corner block, I'm pretty sure. He's a corner block, so there's a distance that he has to be away from the secondary setback and the front setback and all the bits and pieces. And there's a whole thing that kind of comes into it when the direction of the door facing and how close you can go to the side boundary and all that kind of stuff. It gets really.
And Matt, sorry. So this is the second property that is currently being built.
No, the first one.
That was a corner block, because it looked like it was just like
I'm pretty confident.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty confident it's a corner block. I'm happy to have a look at it.
Okay,
we can look it up. So either way, the guy who was already built. So we'll stick with the guy who's already built and who's got the issue with the distance. So. There's two issues here. We've got guy who's already been built and we've got guy who's now being built. Guy who's already been built has his eaves already, in my opinion, too close to the boundary. Like you have a certain setback that you have to have from the boundary, and it is 900 mil in usual cases. To your face of your wall. Doesn't include the eaves. Usually your eaves would then protrude from your external wall 450 mil, and therefore giving you 450 mil gap between gutter and boundary. We all on the same page?
Yeah. Unless, well, yes, except I think what he's done is he's done a zero lot.
That's right.
Yeah, so he's built closer than that, which you can do and legally too.
So what does that mean? Zero lot.
So zero lot means that you can build to the boundary or within 500 mil. If you're building within 500 mil, there's a zero lot. So yes, absolutely, there is that zero lot alignment that you can run to, but it's first in best dressed. So if old mate's put his gutter X amount of distance away from the boundary, he's claimed that zero lot line, and as we'll see a little bit later, in the NCC, the National Construction Code, you have to be, your face of your external wall and your next door neighbour has to be 1800 mil if you don't have any any perforations or any windows or doors in that wall. It can be a fire rated wall and they can get closer, but there's an eave there. You can't have your eave within that distance because it's a flammable product. So what we've got here is we've got two people who have got these houses that are on face value by themselves logistically correct and compliant, but when they're put down together, they've got their gutter nice and close, and they haven't used the opportunity of, you know, the masonry walls or the parapet walls or the gutters on top of the walls. They haven't used that construction method, which would in any other circumstance be okay.
So would it be interesting too, because it is a first in best dress rule. It's if when you're building a new house or something across from something existing, there's a minimum distance you have to be from the existing structure. Even if it's not on your block, there's still that minimum separation that you need. But I was thinking about this too. What would be interesting is who got approved first versus who actually built first. Because when they would have got their, well, in Queensland, the equivalent of their construction certificate or the final certification to go, my opinion is that they should have known what was already approved. So whoever got approved first would be able to do what they wanted to do, build on the boundary, all above board, and then the second house that got approved next would have had to have gone and looked to see, well, there's an approval already done on my neighbour's block. They're building on the boundary, therefore my house can't be. So that'd be, I don't know whether it goes into that.
It's definitely another layer for sure. Like, I mean, and the harder part is that this is an estate. So it's a quick, everybody get their plans in nice and fast, and council's doing their best bit to try and get everybody approved so everybody can start building. Probably, and I dare say this is fact, that they've just missed that, you know, this guy's been approved and then this guy's been approved, and then they get, oh shit, now we're kissing gutters. So,
and they would, by the looks of it, they wouldn't have known until the gutters went on. No. Or, I mean, in this case, the whole thing is just been built, but I don't know where that could have been picked up.
Well, the boys who are throwing up the gutters, because the gutters will go up first, they're going to be laughed. They would have been like, "Oop, this is too close," but they'll keep doing it because they're paid to do a job.
I think that's a perfect segue. Why don't we actually start the segment? Because I was gobsmacked when they talked about the trades stepping on their other roof during and hearing the guys stepping on above them.
Yeah. So that's a good call, Nick. Let's have a watch.
Well, Jake and Kaylee are really close with their neighbours, but not in the way you'd think. The couple saved hard to buy their first home and couldn't have been happier when they finally moved in. Then next door's build started going up, much closer than expected.
Yeah, see, that's wild.
Oh, that's crazy, hey. So they've built to a zero. They've built both to a zero. Look, you've got the soffit there. The new build is the corner lot. So the new build, the corner lot, the existing build is already there and established. They've got the gardens. They've got the whole bit. Just this causes so much issue. So you can see where your fence line is down the side there. So they've got the required gap. It looks legit right out the back, and you can actually see that they've tried to do the zero lot here as well. Look,
I was looking at the hip. So the house on the left has cut back the eave along that side so that it could be built zero lot. So I think, like we said before, if both of these houses were built independently of each other, there'd be no problem because both walls are.
Well, there's soffit there though. Like, so there's an eave lining. You can't have the eave lining.
So it's not actually the gutter's not actually built for a zero lot. Is that right?
No. Well, that's what it's looking like. So like breaking it down, so you can see your framing, all your framing stuff down here on the new build. Now you're hoping that this is going to be a brick build.
It has to be.
So hopefully. Like I can't see rebate.
I think there was a comment to say that when there'll be pretty sure somewhere in the video it says something about when the bricks go up there'll be even less of a gap between the two. So surely, otherwise how are you even bricking that in the first place?
Well, The answer at the end of the
You
day,
do it backwards. You have to brick it from the inside of the house.
well, at the end of the day, the gutters need to have that 450 mil gap. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter there or not. The usual rule is to have 450 mil spacing between the gutters.
I guess we sort of break that down as well, because you've got an eave, which is there's almost three parts that we're talking about. You've got the external wall, you've got the eave, which is where you'd have the soffit lining underneath, and then you have your fascia on the edge of it, and then you've got your gutter. The gutter itself can be within 450 millimeters, but the eave and soffit can't be, which is where you cut the eave back so that it goes straight from the external wall straight to gutter. So there shouldn't be any soffit lining.
There shouldn't be, and that's not the case here. Like throughout the like you can see that that's not the case. Now there's always going to be some level of performance solution. We do it all the time. We got to make sure that that's a non-flammable space. Now it's super tricky because the owner's done nothing wrong. The builders haven't done anything wrong. I would even say the council hasn't even done anything wrong. This is just one of those situations that's just become. It's just that 1%, right? Like you're just like, damn, this one slipped through. It's technically not correct, and that you would have to go back and just make sure the performance solution for the fire safety is right. Because at the end of the day, no one's ripping their house down. No. Because no one's done the wrong thing.
Well, and from an approval point of view too, the houses wouldn't have existed. Like when both of these houses would have been approved, the other house on the lot wouldn't yet have been built. So there would have been, unless you did have full access to the approvals and looked at it that way. But like there'd be no survey, there'd be nothing to show
the next door neighbour.
The neighbour.
Yeah. So I think it's just a series of unfortunate events that have just kind of congregated and like just happened and caused this horrible situation. Well, to be fair, it's not even really that horrible because you're not doing anything with that side, and it's the garage facing side. So assuming that the plans have been drawn and the counseling's been done right, at the end of the day, as long as there's no openings in those walls and they can do something in terms of performance solutions for the soffit lining and the fascia, they'll get away with it, and there shouldn't be a problem with that. The only issue is that there's no service down the side. And you can't really use that gap like that. That's where this becomes a bit of an issue. And like aesthetically, like walking down the street, these houses are going to look ridiculous.
So how when we I guess we'll have a bit of a look at the rest of the clip, but so the eaves are on top of each other. How close are the walls to each other?
Well, let's keep going. Yeah.
Can't even fit a tennis ball in the gap here.
So this is the back of the house. This would have to be the back.
It has to be because this is new build and this is existing build.
Yeah. So the house on the right there has the
corner block,
the cut back eaves, which means that's the brick wall.
But you see the top. The top plate's all the way down here, though. You see that? Yeah. So that's suggesting to me that the soffit lining is coming all the way back there. This here is suggesting to me that the soffit line is coming back to pin back into that space. There's nothing here to support a brick wall. Like there's no framing. So my issue here is it doesn't look like, obviously I can't see it with the play button there, but it doesn't look like there's any supporting stud wall to hold onto a brick wall. So that's suggesting to me that there's soffit lining still to be installed in that space. But keep going. We'll have a look.
For the guys at home, what is soffit lining?
So it's the length between the external wall and the fascia.
Gotcha.
Right. Can't even fit a tennis ball in the gap here. So who wants to live this close to your neighbours?
Yes, that's interesting.
Yeah. So you saw the gap there. Yeah. There's definitely a gap there to put the soffit lining underneath. Under that space, like that's not compliant.
Space is at a premium on all the blocks at this new housing estate. Most of them are under 400 square metres in size, but only one place is
Stop.
built.
There you go. Okay, 100% every day of the week. You can see where the framing is. You can see where the stud wall is. They have to return that. That's no good. So
That's really, really interesting because they've still cut the eave back.
they have cut the eave
So it's
back,
like
but
they haven't cut it back enough.
all the way. One would assume that you would have, when that eave goes in, or that should have stopped on top of the wall.
So it's like instead of doing a 450 eave and they've cut it back to 0 eave,
It looks like 100 mil, maybe that.
they might have only cut it back to maybe 300 or so.
Well, assuming that they're running brick up there, they've got, there's not enough space. There's definitely not enough space. They could have definitely cut it back more. Like that, these guys here have done the right thing. They've got maybe 100, 150 mil eave with the gutter sitting on the outside. Perfectly legit. But they're in first.
So would the way they've started to build that eave, would that have all been reflected in those construction plans, or has something changed during the build?
No, it would have. So the plans that they would have been building to and got approved would have had the eave length on there, which by itself would be fine, but because we've now got an existing building next to it, it's no longer fine. But it's still interesting though to me because the way that you see the hip of the roof, they have actually reduced the eave, which makes me think that they knew they were going to be close to the boundary.
Yeah,
Well,
so
they're still building on the boundary.
So what I reckon would have done is they both would have been approved, or they both would have been going through the planning process. One would have been done faster than the other. These guys, the guys who are doing the new build now, are probably saying, they were probably doing the design and saying, hey, we know that we're going to be on the boundary, so we're going to cut back our eave so we're within our boundary space, not considering the next door neighbour who's now already built, and they've done the same thing, but they've done it faster.
But only one place is built as close as this. The gutters are almost touching.
So I feel for this guy, like I do. Him and his partner probably saved for a bunch of time to try and build this house, but it's one of those things that it's like you can cast blame to anybody, but nobody in the industry in their own spaces would have been able to pin this, assuming that everybody did their job properly. So the builder is just building off the plans, and the builder's just like, hey, I'm doing the right thing. He can get in trouble for not doing what's on plans. Like, he can be sued, right? Like, so he would turn around and go, I'm doing this. This doesn't look right. He could have turned around and said, hey guys, we're a bit close to the gutter. We could probably adjust it, and we just do X, Y, Z. But ultimately, on face value, we're assuming that they've both put their plans in at the same time. We're assuming that like plans have been done and they've just taken their own time respectively. The problem here is that now we've got two, and I can almost guarantee you the guy next door is probably not too stoked with being so close to
100%.
to them either.
You
know what I mean?
He'd be in the same.
But I mean, the fix, like in my personal opinion, the fix is probably just to rip the eave off and install the gutter and just install the gutter on top of the wall. Yeah. You'd probably be fine with that. Like, you're still going to have a super tight space, but it's going to be a compliant super tight space. There was never, like, you can't do a design like that on an estate like that at a 400 square meter block like that and then expect to not have a zero eave with your designs, because it just won't work. I mean, he had it, like the old man on the corner, he has a specific requirement to be more space off their side boundary than what he does off his side boundary, because it's a secondary frontage. So yeah, absolutely heartbreaking, absolutely sucks. But I mean, there's definitely a fix. you definitely can do something. And I don't even think it'd be a mod. Like, I don't think it'd be modding anything. It would just be like, hey, this is actually non-compliant. What do we do? Chop it back and work with what we've got. You want to make sure that he's compliant with all the fire restrictions and all the bits and pieces, but that space down near, but that space down next to the garages, they were never going to be
Usable, serviceable.
Exactly. Like, you can't do it. You can't install your meter box in there. Your gas, well, you can't build with gas anymore. But I mean, all of your other services, they were never going to fit down there anyway.
The Harmony development by Avid Property Group is a multi-billion-dollar housing project on Queensland's Sunshine Coast. 2 years ago, the Philpotts had to camp out overnight to secure their 322 square metre block.
So if you look at this guy's side setback, that's not 100% not his fault. This secondary setback is huge, massive. It's probably a little bit more than he needed to be on face value again.
Look at that. If that's 322 square metres for that block, the other block's probably got the same amount of area, but has less to use as well because of the secondary setback.
Absolutely. And I mean, it's just, at the moment, it's the developers saying, I'm going to squeeze everything they possibly can out of these estates, making these super, super tight blocks. The Australian dream isn't to have a super, super tight small house. It's to raise kids in a big house with a big backyard. Everybody in this state will be like, I'm going to use every single square millimetre that I can get compliantly to have the house that I want. And this is just a really unfortunate situation where two people did the same thing and it all happened at the same time. But 322 square metres for a block is super tight. Super tight.
I mean, you can see on that original kind of bird's eye view there, like even on the side that isn't super close to that new build, it looks like they've got barely any space on the side of that building as well. They've only got a tiny garden out the back there.
Well, this guy, guy on the right with the 322 square metre block, he's got enough side setback on his right-hand side of his block to have that access way to his backyard from the front yard. So that's okay. He's allowed to do that. And the usual rule is that you can build to your boundary on one side for X amount of percentage. That's the standard rule on most DCP rules. So what he's done is been absolutely compliant, done everything that he said. He's building block A, which is existing build or here, has done everything right. There is nothing wrong with what he's done. And I would almost argue that block B, the new build, has also done relatively everything correctly. There's not a great deal more that he could have done, except maybe shrink his house. But the problem here is that we're not here, like Australia and building in, particularly in the Sunshine Coast as well. We're not here to build small houses. We're not here to have no backyard. This guy's got no backyard. It's all side yard. And they would have placed that into council and said, hey, we're going to use this whole side bit because we can't use it for anything else. We have a minimum setback. They're going to go, we're going to use all of that as our landscaping space and our private open space, which is a requirement by council. So it sucks. It just sucks. There's just nothing. There's nothing here. There's nothing here that could be fixed. And it's the only situation is that the garage has to be set back a little bit more, and it is what it is. The horrible bit though is that the new build guy is going to have to chop it all off. It's probably for the best anyway. And once that gets chopped off and the gutter gets installed on top of the external wall, you're going to have that space and it's going to be okay. The problem here is that now neighbor A and B are going to be at each other like it's each other's fault.
I was just going to say, like, so if they've got to make that correction on their houses currently being built, ultimately, where does the buck land on who's responsible if there's technically been, through the approvals process, no mistake made?
Well, so the problem is you can't.
It'd be first in best. It'd have to be first in best stressed.
It is first in best stress, but you can't specifically put the blame on one person or one service because they've all done their job right the way they should have. It's just one guy got approved and built faster than the other, and now we're here at this situation. So my genuine hope for neighbour A and B, they don't fight with each other because it's not each other's fault and nobody knew better. It's just a real horrible situation where yes, you are right up against each other, but the saving grace is it's just the garage. It's just the garage. Nobody's using that space anyway. Super close, but that's estate living. You don't buy a 322 square metre block and go, I'm not going to live on top of my next door neighbour. It's like moving to Sydney, like you're going to go and build in Sydney and be like, hang on a minute, I want
too close to people.
I want to push a wheelbarrow down the side of my house. No, it's just not going to happen. But and similarly to Sunshine Coast, anywhere that everybody's moving to at the moment, we're always going to have something like this. And it's on the designer to make sure that they're paying attention to any approvals next door. It's on the certifier and the assessing officer of council to say, well, hang on a minute, we've just approved a place that's got a construction certificate to go up. Hey, you can't build this anymore because these guys are in and building. It means you have to chop your eave back a little bit more. That's it. That's the answer to that.
Yeah, or even whenever it was picked up. Like I think there would have been, in this case, there probably would have been times earlier than where they're up to now in construction. This could have been at least flagged as going, hey, look, although, I mean, the gutter to go on that new house is probably a bit late, but I mean, the framing, I like a framing stage when that roof and framing went up, you'd probably know at that stage that something's not.
100%. As soon as those trusses went in, that would be the first time I would have flagged that. I would have been like, "Hey, this is no good. This is what we've got to do. We've got to chop it up," and that's it.
And it might not have been like if it was picked up that stage, I dare say it wouldn't have been that big of a
no. No way. Now you've got to remove roof sheeting. You have to move fascia. You got to remove gutters. You have to do a read. There's a whole bunch of work here that needs to be done now. When the boys were putting the gutters on, standing on an old mate's roof, they could have been like, something's wrong here. We probably shouldn't do this. There's probably other stuff. But is this current affair worthy? Probably not. Maybe a phone call to a builder. Yeah. Maybe a phone call to the old mate who owns it and says, hey,
can we meet on site? Something's not right.
Let's fix this. Let's fix it. And one of the situations, and we see it through all of the other podcasts earlier, one of the situations are, hey, talk to your builder if there's a problem, or talk to somebody first before we go to a current affair. Unless it's happened.
Well, I mean, they might even say, like, I haven't watched this full clip, so I don't know whether they say they've tried to, like, what's actually happened, whether the builders have said.
Well, I think a slight twist is they do mention in the clip, which we'll finish in a second. The guy who owns the build works for the building company. In what capacity, I don't know. But I just found that as a really interesting twist that they'd be working on this build and not think.
Well, I mean, then that means it's an element of having that conversation and not being a dick. You know what I mean? Like, if neighbour A had turned around to the owner and the builder and said, hey, you guys are way too close. Even NCC too close, we need to adjust these gutters. If neighbour A has gone to neighbour B and said, hey, this is what we need to do, and then neighbour B's went, no, you can go and jam it, I'm just going to do this anyway, then 100% neighbour B is at fault, cut his eve off and move on, because you can't do it. It doesn't matter how you look at it.
Not only was it disappointing, based on the plan of development, it was unauthorised. The blue line indicates Jake's block is allowed to be built right to the boundary.
Okay, so we'll break down this a little bit, right? So the red dotted lines are the building envelopes. You can't build outside of those building envelopes. Bottom line, just can't do it.
It'd be interesting to see what that blue dashed line is.
I would assume that that's an easement for draining water.
For what the existing build is built over.
Like the blue line,
The dark.
The dark blue line. Yep. And then I would then argue that the light blue lines there are for garages only.
They might make mention as to what those dark blue lines are. I remember them mentioning something about that. Let's see if they mention it. I might be wrong. It might be.
We'll cut that last bit out, and then once I hear it, then we'll talk about it.
They're staying in now, man.
Yeah,
The blue line indicates Jake's block is allowed to be built right to the boundary, but his neighbour isn't.
Well, hang on a minute. That's not fair. That's not fair because you can't say that he's allowed to build to his boundary. He can't say that he's allowed to build to his boundary, but he's not, because
under the MCC you are allowed to. I would say this would be more of an argument between the developers' rules and their building envelopes rather than a construction code compliance.
Yeah, there's subdivision rules. There's 100% subdivision rules here. The cold hard fact of the matter is that lot on the left quite clearly says that your building easement is that distance, and that's how far you're allowed to build.
Yeah, so they could have got approval to be outside that.
They could have, but then if they've got approval doing that, then it's a hard council fault, because if council's turned around and said, yeah, go ahead and build outside of that, you're assuming that your next door neighbour who is on the right hand side, you're assuming that they haven't used that block to its full extent, and that would be 100% no good. You can't do it. And then it's a council approval problem, because this guy here on 2679 is saying, well, it's showing here quite clearly that his building envelope goes all the way to his boundary, and then we've got 2680 who has that required setback amount. So if they've breached that building envelope, 100% 2680. And then, do you know what it does? It brings into the issue of designer did the wrong thing. Designer's done the wrong thing, council's done the wrong thing, approvals have done the wrong thing.
Depends, because you can, like, if it's an easement, you can still get approved. If it's an easement for a building envelope but not for drainage or anything like that, I think it could have been approved like that through council.
But you have to get the release. If you're building outside the easement, you have to get the release from the developer. Like, you can't just build outside of an envelope.
Well, it is. I mean, it's.
How many times have we ever built outside of an envelope? Not once. Unless it's a shed or an auxiliary structure. And you know what? I don't know this plan. I haven't seen this survey, but I can almost guarantee you that the developer has already pre-designed these blocks for them. So that green shade there, private open space, bang on. And then you've got your blue lines there, which would be the easements to drain water. And I would argue that those easements there would service both 2680 and 2679. And then you've got the outside median strip there, which covers their side setback. Done very cleverly, mind you, because that block now doesn't actually own that side strip. It's not theirs at all.
Well, it'd be a case of getting the block 2680's DA stamped approved plans and seeing why. Well, yeah, how it got approved over that easement.
Because you're not allowed to build. So you've got your front building line that has to be in front of your garage by a metre, and that's why you've got your light blue lines there a metre behind. So they've already designed where their garages are going. They've already designed the private open space. Why would they at any point in time accept to release these building envelopes if they've already designed where everything's going?
Especially in a new estate where you find that they're a little bit more strict.
Absolutely.
For precedent reasons. Like, if they did actually approve this to being over that easement, everyone else in the estate's going to be going, well, now I want that extra half metre.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got the guy up above him, 2678. He can build right to the boundary as well. Like, it's all, like, everything aside, this is a horrible way to split up a block, to do an estate.
Subdivision.
Because this guy 2678 is built right up against the boundary, and then we're assuming that whoever buys 268 and 2679 won't be building the entire block anyway. So we're saying in between all of those three blocks there of roughly 950 square meters that they're only allowing three of those private open spaces exactly like that for each house. So
very tight.
It's pretty ordinary.
spokesperson for Precision Home told us all plans were approved by a private certifier prior to work starting.
That means that they went through a compliant development.
Well, this is Queensland though, so it's a little bit different.
A little bit different.
Accepted development, so
That's right. So they do have a different pathway as New South Wales. That's right. So that a private certifier can approve their plans all the way through, which then begs the question that how was it missed?
well, what it sounds like is that it was like if a stop work order was put in place, it means that it has been identified that something was built that shouldn't have been built. So that to me sounds like they were never approved to build over where they have. Works were stopped, and then they did a new application to say, well, now we want permission to build where we have, and council have approved it.
Yeah. So do you reckon that would have been a building information certificate style approval, or they've just looked at the situation and went, hey, it's going to be way too much money to go and.
That's what I would say.
Say
Council's looked at it, gone for the sake of what would be half a metre. Well,
They shouldn't have built over the building line.
No.
Like the building envelope there is specifically there so this kind of stuff doesn't happen. And then the guy's absolutely fair to be upset, because if they've done the wrong thing and built over the envelope, then it's not unreasonable for them to expect to have a house with a bit of gap between each other. You can't have a building envelope on their survey and say, I expect to be kissing their gutter.
yeah, I think my whole opinion's changed again.
Yeah.
Like
it's
now
crazy.
because there's been essentially illegal works put in place.
Yeah.
That there was then stopped to be rectified, but then was retrospectively approved to be there,
which is a stitch up.
yeah.
And that's no good. That's like that. So neighbor A is 100% within his right to be upset, because he had an expectation to have X amount of gap between old mate's house. Neighbor B on the corner, he's got plenty of space to build to the side. Not so much, but like he's got a better chance of building zero lot to the other side and making a little bit more and using the side space that's not actually his, but he has a space to use. It's still crazy to me that that you have estates like this with small blocks and then things like that get approved. It's just don't cut blocks so small, and then you wouldn't have an issue. My position's changed a little bit, I think, and I think it's not fair at the very foundation of it. It's not fair. They've done the wrong thing. They've had it approved to not be like that, and then they've started the build and they've been cheeky and they've taken that extra little bit. That's not fair, and they should 100% have somebody there to support them. Being told by the council to say, "Hey, too bad, we've approved it like it is anyway." Well, hang on a minute. No, it's not like that. The reason the building envelope is there is for situations like this, and so that you're complying with the NCC guidelines.
Oh, even that in itself, what type of precedent is that going to set for everyone else?
Yeah, 100%. And there's
Not approve where you want it, build it there anyway, and get a mod to prove it later. Like that's
well,
this council will be having a hard time, I dare say, right now. Like anyone else who's looking this and going, well, if you're going to approve it retrospectively anyway,
yeah. And now what council have done is they've now invited that age old mantra of ask for forgiveness rather than permission.
Yeah.
Like the council have now turned around and go, well, you know what? If you've done something illegal, write us a letter and we're going to say yes. And then whoever's chucking a wobbly about it hasn't got any recourse to
now it makes sense why it's gone to a current affair.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But I mean, even. Like I would like to know how much conversation or how much legwork's been done prior to going to a current affair. I want to know what
Well, stop work was put in place.
stop work.
So it sounds like the right avenues were
Yeah.
started to be taken until council, I guess, approved it.
Well, it would be a please explain now. Like it'd be like, well, why are you saying yes to this when it's not only a breach of council guidelines, a breach of estate guidelines, a breach of NCC guidelines. There is so many things here that are going wrong. It's his old mate here in as neighbor B on the corner, is it his fault because he's just turned around and said, who cares, just build it out? Or is it old mate, same guy says, I didn't know, I've just been following the plans, and now this is what's happened. It's now like dare I say, I think maybe it's an element of, oh shit, we've missed this, and now there's a big problem. Let's just approve it and hope it goes away. And now it's not. Now it's not. So now we've got neighbour A who's super upset about the build, and we've got a current affair involved, and we've got council approving something that shouldn't have been approved. We've got a state guidelines that haven't been followed and built towards. This house will never ever be forgotten. Like these two neighbours.
It'll be interesting to see if council rescind their DA approval, their sort of the retrospective approval for it now that this is blown up, or whether like 100% there'll be some questions asked about it, and probably go through like a review at council to go, well, are we actually approving this or not? Well,
it's old mate certify who approved it is the one who's going to get looked at, like, because they're going to go, well, why did this get approved? And if it's a private certifier doing the approvals, they're going to be like, well, why weren't the checks and balances being made? Why has this been built to where it is? And there has to be critical stage inspections, right? It doesn't matter. So when the slab was poured, there has to be a peg out survey done. That's better. Like, we'll draw it right all the way back. Like, there has to have been a set out plan done. And when the set out plans were done, they're going to be like, well, way too close. Can't do it. So this goes all the way back to even pre-construction.
Especially if it was never approved to be over there anyway, which means the plans shouldn't. Well, that'd be interesting too. Like what the big difference between the plans and what's been built on site.
Well, no formwork would have been done because the peg out survey should have been done. And then when the formwork was done, they would have seen that they're going over and breaching the setback, and then that's when it would have been pulled up. As a matter of fact, the certifier should have picked it up at the slab pour.
Yeah, you got to step out of your garage here, but the plans I'm looking at has a straight line.
Yeah, you're breaching your envelope. You can't do that. Stop it, pull it back, and fix it. Well, there you go, guys. What a while that. This turns out to be a big deal. So from my first position to being like, hey, it's a stitch up on all sides to being, well, you know what, there's some failures in the system here. Similar to that in New South Wales, we have our own issues as well. Mitch, I really appreciate you breaking it down with me, and I really actually enjoy this. I think this is really great
fun,
because this is something that so it's prevalent all the way through the Queensland, New South Wales, and the Victorian system. Like the QBCC is always having a problem. We've got our fair trading situation, and you've got the Victorian Building Commission as well, who they're all being inundated with all this poor building or horrible planning situations where, you know, they're getting inundated with everybody who's not following the protocols or the proper process, and then busting everybody who's going through council's getting bogged down with all this drama, because I can guarantee you that wasn't a short feat. I can guarantee you council's been tied up with that for the last couple of months, so that's going to tie up everybody else. And then you've got your poor neighbour who's built and had a space and expected to have a nice home, and then we've got old mate there who probably hasn't done anything wrong but has just been subject to an issue where nobody was doing their checks and balances correctly. That's why we carry on about having, a good team, guys who look after you, know what the processes are, and are going to do their checks and their ticks and their balances and work with everybody around them. That's an easy fix. Like you can definitely do something to at least be a little bit more respectful of your neighbour. I think it's a poor form on council's behalf to say we're still going to approve it. But guys, thanks for listening in again. We could go on about it all day. I think what we might do is we might start picking these things, and I think it's a great opportunity to really start putting in, what it means to actually do these kind of builds and things to watch out for. And I really appreciate you, Mitch, breaking it down, and Nick behind the camera. I can't wait for this one, and let's just keep breaking it down and talking about it. So if you haven't liked, subscribed, or shared yet, make sure you do all three, and join in next week and we'll talk about it. Thanks for listening to this week's app of The Lounge. To make sure you don't miss out on the next episode, hit subscribe. We'd love to get the message out to more homeowners like you. Make sure you leave a rating and a review, and we'll see you on the next app.